Welcome back to MotionPic Recap. Today we're going to recap the adventure and action movie titled Uncharted. Spoilers ahead. A treasure hunter named Nate suddenly wakes up realizing he is far up in the sky and stuck hanging from some cargo boxes that are attached to the end of a plane. He gets loose and starts to climb towards the opening in the back of the plane while fighting off multiple mercenaries trying to stop him. But as soon as he gets into the plane, a red car pushes Nate back out again. Nate is now falling to his death when suddenly a hand catches him. We are taken back 15 years in time to a young Nate that has just fallen off a balcony and who is rescued by his big brother Sam, who catches him. The two orphaned brothers are breaking into a museum to steal a map from the Magellan expedition. But as soon as Sam attempts to steal the map, he triggers an alarm and they both are caught by guards. Nate and Sam are taken back to the orphanage where we learn that this is Sam's third strike and he has to go to prison. The two are given a short moment alone to say goodbye, which Sam makes the most of and escapes. However, before leaving, Sam hands Nate his special ring and promises to one day come back for him. When Sam has left, Nate finds a piece of white paper and a lighter on his bed. He uses them to reveal a secret message from Sam expressing his love for his brother. We are taken back to the present day in New York where Nate works as a bartender. While working, Nate discreetly steals a rich girl's expensive bracelet while acting to try to help her light a cigarette with Sam's old lighter. Later, when cleaning up to close the bar that night, Nate meets a man called Sully who praises Nate for his pickpocketing skills and offers him a job. Nate acts as if he doesn't know what Sully is talking about and tells him to get out. However, when Sully has left, Nate soon discovers that the bracelet he stole earlier is missing from his pocket and instead finds a card that Sully left him. He visits the address on the card because he wants the bracelet back, and he enters the flat covertly by taking the doorman's keys. As Nate enters, he is shocked to learn that Sully has the Magellan's map in his apartment. Nate claims that the story behind the map, the first journey ever around the earth in search of gold, is just a legend. Sully, however, confirms the story is true and that the successors to the financiers of the trip, the Moncada family, are still searching for the lost gold. Sully also mentions that he knew Sam and that they were searching for the treasure together, but that Sam suddenly disappeared 2 years ago without a trace. Nate comments that it sounds like his brother because he hasn't had any communication with Sam for 2 years either. Sully tells Nate that joining him in the search can help Nate also find his brother, but Nate still rejects the offering, saying that the brother he knew doesn't exist anymore. Nate returns to his own apartment and starts reading old postcards that Sam once sent him. He becomes nostalgic and changes his mind about the job, so Sully and Nate meet up again to discuss a plan. According to the legend, to enter the chamber where the gold is supposed to be, 2 keys in the shape of crosses are needed. One of the keys Sully already possesses. The other key will soon be sold on an auction, so they start to prepare to steal the cross. The day the auction is being held, Sully and Nate spot a rich man outside the auction house named Santiago who belongs to the Moncada family. Sully explains that Santiago considers the cross his birthright and that they will have to take the cross before he buys it. Before the auction starts, Santiago is talking to Joe, a mercenary, who later walks up to Sully to tease him. We learn that Joe once was Sully's partner. The auction begins and Sully sits down acting to be among the buyers while Nate goes to execute their plan. Joe sees Nate acting suspiciously and sends some of her mercenaries after him. When Nate thinks no one sees, he sneaks into an authorized-only room to get access to the building's electrical system. He tries to cut the power to the lights in the auction house so that Sully can grab the cross in the dark. But because Nate is too slow, Sully has to start bidding on the cross to give Nate more time even though he has no money to buy it with. But while trying to cut the power, one of the mercenaries finds Nate and tries to stop him. They start to fight, and after delivering a few blows to each other, Nate runs back to the auction room and creates a distraction by jumping and swinging in a large chandelier in the ceiling. People panic, and in all the confusion Sully turns his jacket inside out so that he looks like a security guard and takes the opportunity to grab the cross. Joe sees this and follows Sully to ambush him with a knife. However, as Joe is threatening Sully and taking the cross from him, real security guards see them and start helping Sully. The guards fight Joe while Sully gets away. At the same time, Nate is trying to escape security guards that are chasing him and finally manages to run away from them. When Sully gets to the car, Nate is waiting for him and they decide to drive to an airport. While on a plane on their way to Barcelona, Nate gets to see the captain's journal from the sailing journey, which confirms the legend. It describes how Magellan on his trip found gold in the Philippines, hid it in Barcelona, and told the Moncada family they never found any gold. The journal hints about a tree where the gold is supposed to be, but neither of them seem to know what that means. As they get to Barcelona, they suddenly meet a girl named Chloe who Nate learns is working with Sully, and who is the one in actual possession of the other key. Chloe explains to Nate that Sully is a deceiver and expresses that she doesn't want to work with Sully anymore. She walks away, and as she does, Nate and Sully realizes that she stole their key from them and now has both keys. They rush after her through the city and only manage to get to her as she reaches her car. They start talking to her as she tries to drive away and successfully convinces her to stay, saying that they will do better by working together since she has the keys and they know where the chamber is. Nate leads them to an old church, which he explains is the place the clue in the journal actually hints at. This is because the name of the church has the word tree in it, as well as a symbol of a tree. Meanwhile, somewhere else in Barcelona, Santiago goes to see his father Armando, who has told the media that he will give the family fortune away. Santiago wants his father to change his mind, but he won't. As Santiago has got news that Sully is in the city, he goes to tell Joe to find out what they are doing. Later that evening we see Nate and the others in a room discussing. When Sully and Chloe get a moment alone, Chloe asks if Nate is the brother of Sam, which Sully confirms. She then tells him that he has to explain to Nate what happened to Sam, but Sully only answers that he will do it when the right time comes. The following morning, Santiago asks his father Armando again to reconsider giving away the family fortune, but receives the same answer. No. When Armando gets to his car that day, Santiago and Joe are there to corner him and Joe kills him. That night, Nate and the others get back to the church where Nate to his surprise discovers that the church sells the same postcards that he once received from Sam. They start to read and follow inscriptions on the floor, which leads them to a room with more inscriptions on the wall. Nate finds a secret button that reveals a hidden gateway. Once turning the statue, 2 keyholes appear. As Chloe and Nate try to open it, they first screw up by turning the keys the wrong way, causing deadly darts to shoot out towards them. Luckily, no one is hurt. When they instead turn the keys the other way, a tunnel appears. According to the journal, one must stay behind in heaven while another continues down the tunnel to hell, so Sully stays in the church with one of the keys while Nate and Chloe enter the tunnel carrying the other. As the tunnel leads away from the church, Nate activates a tracking beacon on his smartphone so that Sully can follow them from above. Ignorant of his surroundings, however, Sully doesn't know that he is being followed by Joe. Eventually Nate and Chloe find that the tunnel leads to a nightclub, only to realize that Joe's men also are there. Nate and Chloe act fast and start dancing to blend in. They dance across the room to the bar where they spot a new hidden entrance. To get time to figure out how to open the secret door behind the bar, Nate causes a distraction by first starting a fire with his brother's lighter, and then acts as the bartender and starts handing out drinks. Suddenly, 2 of Joe's mercenaries emerge from the crowd and they start fighting with Nate. Chloe figures out how to open the door and Nate jumps in. The door closes fast behind them and they manage to escape the mercenaries who are left in the bar. They find themselves in a small room underneath a fountain, and when using the key to get out, the compartment starts to fill with water. To save them from drowning, Sully has to put the other key in the fountain above ground, but the fountain is behind thick glass. As he starts trying to break the glass, Joe enters the room and they start fighting. The fight is long and the compartment underneath fills up quickly with water. Eventually Sully manages to throw Joe at the glass. This time the glass breaks and Sully turns the key and a hatch opens for Nate and Chloe. For having had to hold their breaths, Chloe has become unconscious from lack of oxygen and Nate has to save her. As she wakes up, she is surprised that Nate didn't betray her and left her to drown. They light a torch and find a new keyhole in which both keys have to be used as one. Sully drops the cross to them through a drain hole in the street. They open the door to reveal a big ancient Roman storehouse with 3 giant urns. At first glance they think they have discovered the gold, but as Chloe opens one of them they find that the urns are actually full of salt. Suddenly the urns shatter and all the salt ends up on the floor, revealing an old map that Nate picks up. He gets a good look at it and sees a route marked on it from Spain to the East Indies. Chloe picks up a gun and forces Nate to hand over the map. Before knocking him unconscious, Chloe tells Nate that he should ask Sully what really happened to his brother Sam. Soon after, Nate wakes up with Sully beside him. Immediately Nate inquires about his brother, and Sully explains that he has not disappeared but is dead. When Sully and Sam found the captain's tomb and his journal 2 years earlier, Sam got shot by Joe as she and Santiago's mercenaries found them while they were on their way out. As Nate figures out that Sully left his brother to die and only came to him years later to get missing clues that Sam might have sent him, he terminates their relationship and calls Sully a selfish and greedy man. Later we see Santiago and Joe discussing as suddenly Chloe walks into the room with the map and keys. Santiago notifies Joe that he once hired both of them and that Chloe from now on is in charge of operations. Elsewhere, Nate is seen looking through the old postcards from Sam as he all of a sudden changes his mind and decides to continue the search for the gold, only for the reason to end what his brother started, and so he and Sully meet up again. In the next scene, we see Nate and Sully spy on Santiago and his employed mercenaries as they load a cargo plane and plan their flight to the East Indies. Once the plane has taken off, Santiago begins telling a story about how his ancestors were betrayed and how he will bring honor back to his family, only by having Joe abruptly interrupt him by taking his life. Chloe is scared and quickly sneaks away and hides. Joe and the other mercenaries start to search for her. At the same time, we see Sully and Nate suddenly get out of the trunk of Santiago's red vintage car on board the plane. To not be discovered by Joe and her mercenaries, Sully and Nate sneak out of the cargo hold to the center of the plane where they see the map and keys lying unguarded. They recover the items and go back to the cargo hold to find parachutes and to jump off the plane. Sully finds a parachute and is ready to jump when Nate suddenly steps out in front of Joe and confronts her about his brother and asks her if she really shot him. She doesn't answer, so Nate pulls the parachutes on one of the cargo boxes at the same time that Sully jumps off the plane. Nate then starts to fight Joe's mercenaries but gets stuck in one of the cargo boxes that is dragged out of the plane. The scene from the beginning of the movie is back and we see Nate in the air stuck to the cargo. Joe's mercenaries find Chloe and she starts to fight back, killing several mercenaries in the process. While Nate is jumping between cargo boxes and tries to get back to the plane, Chloe jumps into the red car, starts it, and accelerates towards the cargo door. Just as Nate gets back inside, Chloe pushes him back out again with the car. In the air, we discover that it is Chloe's hand that catches Nate's, rescuing him by holding tightly to a cargo box and opening its parachute. They land in the middle of the ocean where they drift around for a while until seeing an island belonging to the Philippines. Using Sully's credit card, the duo checks in at a beach hotel where they start to discuss the map. Nate believes the map doesn't show the real location and realizes that Sam had sent him a final clue through the postcards. Not knowing what the clue is, Nate and Chloe start deciphering Sam's postcards. Chloe gives up and goes to bed, but Nate continues. After hours, Nate remembers the secret message his brother left him the night 15 years ago when he ran from the orphanage to escape prison. He uses a candle because his lighter doesn't work, and as the postcard is warmed up, a hidden message is revealed telling him to use the 2 keys as a compass. Nate uses them and figures out the true location of the treasure. He writes the coordinates down on a piece of paper and then goes to sleep. The following morning, Joe and her mercenaries are seen getting ashore on an island. At the same time, Chloe wakes up and sees Nate's notes of the coordinates. She betrays Nate by taking the note and then abandoning him. When Nate awakens and realizes Chloe is gone, he is not concerned at all since he foresaw her actions and left the wrong coordinates on the note. In the next scene we see Nate steering a motorboat towards the treasure. Joe and the mercenaries spot him from their island and start to go after him. Nate arrives at a big cave entrance and dives down to swim through a small underwater tunnel. He arrives inside a big cave where he sees Magellan's ships, and after entering one of them he discovers barrels full of gold. Suddenly Sully stands behind him inside the ship. He used the tracker on Nate's smartphone to find him. They start talking and Sully tells Nate that Sam would be proud of him. They hear sounds and see that Joe and the other mercenaries have entered the cave, so they hide in a small compartment. Using helicopters, Joe and her men lift both entire ships out through a large hole at the top of the cave. While the ships are being transported in the air, Sully and Nate leave their hiding place to grab a blade and a dagger to protect themselves with, as well as some of the gold which they pack in a bag. They then ascend the stairs to the deck, where they fight some of Joe's men until having pushed them all overboard. Sully then climbs up one of the chains to the helicopter above, where he throws out the pilot and takes control of the helicopter. He starts to steer the helicopter away, and Joe, who is on the other ship, commands their helicopter pilot to follow Sully and Nate. A helicopter chase ensues, and Joe's men use grappling hooks to get over to the ship where Nate is. Nate then starts to fight with the mercenaries at the same time the 2 ships bump into one another in the air. Nate continues fighting and grabs one of the mercenaries' guns to defend himself with. Sully steers the helicopter through a narrow gap between 2 islands to escape Joe's helicopter, only to meet Joe on the other side. Quickly Sully makes the helicopter climb to avoid a head-on collision with the other ship. He manages to evade a crash, and Joe and her men continue the chase after them. Nate gets an idea and takes a cannonball and some gunpowder he found and loads one of the ship's cannons with it. He struggles to get a spark in Sam's lighter but finally gets it working. He lights the fuse, and fires the cannon at the other helicopter. The ball hits the motor and the helicopter starts to rotate and descend uncontrollably. Before hitting one of the cliffs that totally destroys the ship, Joe manages to jump off. Nate and Sully believe they made it. However, from nowhere Joe appears, having managed to jump to their ship. She lowers the ship's anchor and the ship is stuck to the bottom of the sea. Joe and Nate exchange some punches, and as it becomes apparent that the chains are about to fail, Nate starts climbing the chains. Sully sees Joe climbing after Nate and surprisingly decides to sacrifice his bag of gold by dropping it on Joe so that she falls off into the sea. As the chains break, Sully catches Nate. The entire ship falls onto Joe in the water below, killing her instantly. The ship stays afloat for a few moments before it sinks. As the Philippine Navy is seen approaching, Sully comments that the treasure now belongs to the Philippine government. As they start to leave in their helicopter, they laugh as they see Chloe in a motorboat below. Sully expresses great pain over the lost gold, but Nate surprises him by showing him one gold piece after another from his pockets. Simultaneously, someplace unknown, we see Sam in a prison cell writing on a postcard to Nate that he will have to watch his back. Some time later, Nate is trying to buy a map from a man employed to someone called Roman in exchange for Sam's ring. The man double-crosses him and attempts to take both the ring and the map. However, Sully suddenly appears and creates a diversion so that Nate manages to double-cross the man back, taking both objects from him. As Sully and Nate leave, they are stopped by an unknown and mysterious individual. The end. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this and hit the like button to help us out. Until next time, take care.